Micah Bruce says, you've said in the past that you and Jamie worked very well together and mentioned being able to communicate with gestures and looks and how satisfying that was. It's not something everyone has in a workmate, even after years. Was it always this way for you two? Was it immediate, or did it develop over time? It developed over time. It developed from years of working together. It developed from years of, like, even when I was working for Jamie, you know, he would give me stuff that was in my bucket to deal with. And sometimes he'd give me more stuff and sometimes he'd give me less stuff. But like, when you give someone stuff to do, you got to trust that they'll do it. So our long-term working relationship was based on that kind of trust. And I honestly remember in the early seasons, there's one point at which we're fighting over something. And I'm really mad because I think the way he's about to do it is really dumb. And I don't think he should do it that way. But I'm not winning this argument with him. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, wait a minute, what are the stakes? And then I thought, well, the only stakes that matter are, will this job get done? And then my brain was like, well, you know, Heineman knows how to get the job done by the end of the frickin' day. Even if the method he's choosing is wrong, you know that the Heineman will still get to the right solution by the end of the day because he knows the priority. And the same is true for me. And so, while we weirdly, gleefully fought over all the tiny details, we were also ready at any moment to sort of, yeah, take it, it's yours. Because we knew that the other could complete the job by the end of the day. And more as I get older, I realize what a lucky and amazing experience it was to work with someone at that level. I've worked with other people at that level. Martin Meunier, who we were just talking about, Mike McMaster was visiting here, and we were talking about our mutual friend, Martin Meunier. I built a bunch of impossible models in impossibly short periods of time with Martin back in the mid-90s. And I had a similar amount of sort of with him as I did with Jamie. Martin is incredibly smart, incredibly fast, and a similar amount of pleasure to work together. I like to tell young people now, if you have someone you work with that is really intuitive and amazing, I want to let you know from my vantage point of being this old, that is rare and you should chase that, or you should consider chasing it. Because remarkable things can happen when you have that level of a connection with somebody. I used to joke that it would be great. It's really hard to transfer the 3D model in my head into Jamie's head and vice versa. And it would be really great if we had thumb drives in our neck and we could just transfer the information like that. Instead, we used a process that I call arguing, and it worked pretty well. Someone asked me, what was the happiest you have ever seen Jamie Heineman? I've seen Jamie Heineman plenty happy, plenty of times. There was aspects of the show that he absolutely loved. He really particularly loved when we were working on some aspect of the show and he was like inspecting the ground after an explosion and would find some new wrinkle to the story. He really, really loved zooming out. Jamie was somebody who's always like wanting to zoom out and see a little bit more of the picture. So we're down at the University of Gainesville in Florida, which was spectacular. They have a world-class hurricane testing facility that includes this, what looks like six-foot wide tubas, which is in fact a hurricane generation machine called the Octopus, maybe it's 8 of them, that can generate something like 145 miles per hour wind speed. The news story just came up about a couple of universities that have built even faster hurricane testing facilities. But back then, this was one of the most advanced in the country. And we were building a dollhouse and we were blowing it down. We were doing hurricane stories about, oh, right, should you leave your windows open or closed in a hurricane? And again, we're working with this impossible machine, this ridiculous, amazing piece of equipment that is crazy loud. And it does something that shouldn't be possible, generating 140 mile per hour winds that you can go and set up experiments in. How much fun is this? So at one point, Heineman goes, Scott, to our cameraman, Scott, come here, I want you to shoot something. I wanted to show you guys something. This is really cool. You can go get this. When Jamie was like, got a bee in his bonnet, he got this sort of half smile, this sort of smirk that's like, ah. And the smirk was, I can't wait to see how this turns out. And it's always, you look, that's always going to be the most interesting thing to watch. When someone wants to try something out, you want to film it, right? Like you want to see their interest intersect with their experience. That makes great drama. And so he's like, all right, turn on the cameras. And he's like, and so when I give the signal, I want you guys to turn this thing on full blast. And he goes and he stands there. Can you see me? I'm in Phil Stone frame. He goes and he stands there and they turn on the thing on full blast. And he doesn't move. Now, we're all standing there wondering what the gag is. And then I realize that Jamie is expending a tremendous amount of his prodigious strength just standing still. And for him, the experience is incredible. He is using every muscle in his body and the most incredible noise to stay still. Unfortunately, that is the least interesting thing to see on camera. But like the pleasure in his eyes was so palpable. It was like, wow, I get to play with this machine. Let me see what this can do, which is totally, completely valid and amazing. Yeah, that I think might have been one of the happiest I've ever seen him. The other day that was like that, weirdly, was water skiing behind an excavator. We did this as part of a whole excavator set of stories, I think, where I was able to climb into the back of a truck using only the excavator and no ramps. We did a bunch of excavator. If you want to see some amazing stuff, you can watch people pick up quarters with a forklift. We threaded a needle with a great awl. Yeah. But my favorite thing we did on that story was we water skied behind a bucket lift. And we had this pond out at the Altamont landfill, I believe. And Jamie had a lot of experience with water skiing. I did not. My sum total of water skiing experience came from our earlier story about can you water ski behind a rowboat, in which a guy from Arnold Schwarzenegger's hometown taught us to water ski. And he sounded just like this. Get to the chopper. He sounded exactly like Arnold. Anyway, water skiing behind an excavator was the other time I think I saw Jamie about as happy as I have ever seen him. Let us see what is happening here. Michael Stickle says, did you ever get requests to do myths that were basically sponsored videos? Yeah, we did. This is my last question. Yeah. Did you ever get requests to do myths that were basically sponsored videos? Of course we did. So this last question ends up being the answer to why I love Jamie Heineman. We didn't get along on a personal level. But not never. But like we both annoyed each other a lot. Our basic personalities annoy each other. And our work ethic and our design ethic and our engineering prowess is highly thought of by each. But the real reason I love that guy is because, yeah, we were offered lots of money to bust myths about people's products from giant international corporations. And we turned those down, every single one of them. Because you only get one chance to sell your integrity. Maybe you get a couple chances, but in general, you sell your integrity and everyone knows it's been sold, and then no one's going to pay attention to you. And there are people within the historical maker space, I don't want to name and shame anybody, but that have done that. They have sold out. They have stumped for other products that are substandard in order to make money in the moment. And making money in the moment is really important. Basic cable, there are no residuals. So Jamie, me, Carrie, Tori, Grant, Jesse, everybody got paid to do those shows. And then there's basically no carried income from having made that show. So all you end up with at the end of making the show, Jamie and I talked about this expressly with each other to say, all we end up with at the end of this run, when it finally wraps up, is our integrity. All we end up with is the integrity we've built about how we attack the world and how we see it. And if we used that integrity to bust a myth about someone's car, we feel like we'd be selling it down the river for cheap, no matter. And like I said, we turned down a lot of money to do that, to not do that. And I am so grateful that that never was an argument, ever, ever. It was like one of the things that happened between Jamie and I is we would get presented some opportunity that had a lot of, big opportunities presented themselves all the time. And you often had to figure out how they would fit in and what you would do. And then you had to figure out what your stance was and how you wanted it to, what you went, right? So you go through all of these mental calisthenics yourself. And then you meet up with your business partner and you're like, how do you feel about this? And they explicate and you realize, wow, we feel the same exact way. And that happened time and time and time again. And I have talked to people who have had to argue with their own management team about not wanting to do a Target commercial. And again, I'm so grateful that I never had to argue about that. I never had to fight with him over that because our moral center of the impact we wanted to have in the world was Vend. Let's say that our moral center is Vend. And for that, I love that guy.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to Tested membership and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.